This is an 8-iron, and it's a dead shank.
Wow.
Way right.
Oh, takes a hop off the path.
You got to be kidding me. Very tough pitch shot right here. You got to hit it into the hill. One hop up and bite, and it's in.
Kind of like that.
Well, I would like to welcome to the Sub 70 podcast Matt Ginella, travel expert, golf expert, lots going on, and been looking forward to this conversation. So, with everything, with your background, it should be a really interesting conversation, like I was saying before. So, thanks for doing this, man. I really, really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me, Jason.
Well, the first question I want to ask you is the move from Florida over to California. A lot of people are going the other way with this, and now you've kind of gone from Florida out in California. How's life treating you out there? How have you enjoyed the move sort of back to your home state, and how are things settled in back in California at this point?
Oh, man, it's 25 years I spent on the East Coast. I left in 1995 after graduating from college and had a non-paid internship at Sports Illustrated, and then spent 6.5 years there, and then Digest for 11 years, and then Golf Channel for 8 years, and kind of went, corner to corner. And in August, we came out here, and my parents are in Southern California, and my dad is 88 and not doing great physically and mentally. And my mom, 83, needs a little support. I have a brother in the area. I have a sister in LA. So it's kind of all hands on deck. That was a big push for the move. But in addition to that, a great circle of friends down here in Southern California. Obviously, I am in my roots a West Coast guy. So my wife was willing. The kids were into it. It seemed like the timing was right. And certainly as it relates to my parents. So, and then tucked into, I've had a long and really a great relationship with John Ashworth, who's like a big brother to me, and obviously been a Link Soul ambassador since the beginning. And that whole culture and community extension to Goat Hill Park in Oceanside, got offices in Oceanside. My producer, who I'm partnering with in the Fire Pit Collective, is moved from LA to San Diego. So, I mean, the dots have all been connected, and for all the right reasons. And at this point in my life and my career, it's been perfect. Honestly, we're now into a house, we're renting and settled, and we've got the website launched, got the company going, and open for business. Is it's exciting. It's overwhelming. It's daunting. It's scary, but it's also really cool.
And don't forget the perfect weather, right? Southern California, man. It's like my wife's originally from California and went to college in San Diego, and she's stuck in the Midwest with me at this point, and she's like, about this time of the year in the winter, she's always like, what in the world are we doing here? Like, San Diego was like the most perfect climate ever. Not too hot, not too cold, great vibes. It's I think she misses it a little bit. We're here now, but what a great spot to be. Not a bad spot to be stuck, I guess is what I'm saying. So
my wife and I were watching the local weather the other day, and the weather lady was giving the 10-day forecast. I mean, the most exciting, dramatic thing she was talking about was she was monitoring the winds, which were going to be 5 to 10 miles an hour. I mean, it was comical. I mean, it was just big. It looked like a Saturday Night Live skit, as though someone was pretending to do the San Diego weather. It was 72 degrees every day for the next 10 days, big yellow ball, and it's amazing. It really is. It's as cliche as it gets.
Yeah, exactly. That's why, I love that area of the country. So I can't blame you for setting up camp there. One of my things, you brought this up already, and I was fortunate enough to have John Ashworth on the podcast at one point in time, and it was awesome. Like, I'm not supposed to kind of hero worship this stuff. I'm trying to keep my sense, but I wore those shirts playing college golf, right?
Yeah.
That was the brand. That was my guy. It was different. It was Freddie. And I think we're very close to the same age. that was the brand, and I loved what they did. And to be able to have him on the podcast, he was so cool, generous, like he was awesome. Like I just totally dug the guy's vibe, had a fantastic conversation, couldn't have been more kind. Like I'm just thrilled, I had him on once, like to be able to kind of have a friendship with one of the guys. I'm guessing you grew up in the same era I did of following that stuff and being a fan of it, then to be able to have a friendship with, he's an icon. Like, how cool is that? And, what have you learned from John and, the wisdom he has, all that stuff, especially starting your own company and what you're doing with it, sort of, how did you guys become that good of friends? And what's that mentorship and friendship, meant to you?
I mean, he's become a big brother to me, honestly. It goes so far beyond anything relating to sort of business or I don't know, a professional life. It started like you said, it started because I knew nothing about the person, obviously, growing up as a kid. I knew when Ashworth shirts hit the shop. I had the pros tipping me off when I was a kid. I knew I had saved up my weekly men's club credits in the shop, and I knew when I could get a Ashworth shirt or 2 or 3 if I had a good month or whatever, and I always hung dry them. I picked up the sleeves like Freddie did. I was all in on Ashworth, like you said. And then when I got to Golf Digest and Golf World Magazine, one of the editors said, this goes back to like 2001. And he said, "Hey, you want to come play golf with me today? We're going to, Brook Lawn Country Club." I said, "Oh, in, yeah." I go, "Who we got?" He goes, another guy, and he goes, "John Ashworth's playing." I go, "John Ashworth? Like, what do you mean John Ashworth? Like the John Ashworth? Like the guy behind the?" I was like, "Oh my God!" And he's like, "Yeah, he's a great guy." I was like, "What?" And I mean, and I probably like yourself. I don't get starstruck. I've been around all kinds of athletes, but for me, as it related to my childhood and the impact he had on my life, and sort of my fashion of my life, I couldn't even get words out when I was like, I couldn't believe who I was playing with. Silky smooth swing. His tempo of his swing is the tempo of his life. It's just such a, and I was like, and he asked more questions of me than I asked of him. He was engaged, he got my number. He sent me, at that time he had Fidra, the tweener company between Link Soul and Ashworth. So, I mean, I was, oh God, couldn't believe it. And we go on to be friends. We would see each other from time to time. It was, he would come play, he sent me stuff. Very cool. Amazing. It couldn't be more generous, more kind. And then when I got to Golf Channel, actually prior to Golf Channel, he had reached out to me about his idea of wanting to get publicity for Goat Hill Park. I was writing for Golf Digest. He said, "You want to do the 100-hole hike with me? Because this little course I played growing up is in jeopardy." I said, "Absolutely, in." So I thought, oh, great. And he and I and another guy played the 100-hole hike at Goat Hill Park when it was at death's door. I mean, it was in trouble, sort of physically and spiritually as a golf course. And I thought, my God, what is this place? It was just, and he goes, "Well, I think it's got good bones. I think if I can rally the community." And sure enough, at a, city council meeting, that he did what he did. That story's been very well told. Mm-hmm. And I followed that. So from Golf Digest, after writing the story of the 100-hole hike, then I went to Golf Channel, and then I sort of I told that story for Golf Channel, came out, really spent a lot of time with them. I'd become a Link Soul ambassador at that time. And then now we've traveled the world. We've played in all these tournaments. We've had all these great, conversations. And the thing I always say about John is no one walks the walk like he does. This is not a guy, we all talk a good game because we love the game, right? So we're, at the very least, we can talk a good game. And then a lot of us follow up, have some initiatives, do some fundraising, support charities, talk about stories that interest us because they matter. Well, he does that like times 100. I mean, he didn't just save Goat Hill Park and then move on his way. He's now got a 50-year lease. He's out there every day. He's in the tractor. He's got the shovel, the rake. He's got a project. And everybody's bought into his vision. So it's not just him. It literally is the local cement guy, and the superintendent's been there for 35, 40 years. He's converted kids from being in gangs to being sort of scratch handicaps and parking carts and caddying in the Junior Caddy Academy. And it is one of the most special, true stories in the fabric of golf in America that a lot of people phone call, hey, how did John Ashford, how did he do that? What was the formula? How did it? And I said, and he says it, and therefore I say it as it relates to Winter Park 9 in Florida. You've got to have that local commitment, that local leader who says, we can do something about this, and then rallies the necessary, voices and politicians and sort of get the red tape. And, that's, I'm learning from him in that respect in terms of, the investment into, municipal golf and community golf, but it's also just the walk stuff. This what he's doing, what we try to do as people who care about the game and society in general is it's about day-to-day commitment to community, green space, treat it golf as a park that happens to have tees and greens. They create the hang, the vibe, the acceptance, the room to grow, like create you can't just say grow the game, right? That's what I'm saying is a lot of people say grow the game. No, you got to create the space for the game to grow. And that's what he's done. And that's what's happening.
What do you think, golf courses in general, and I know it can change from private to public, but just kind of from 1,000 feet, and I'm a huge fan of what he's done out there, and I love the vibe, and he was kind enough to say, hey, if you're ever out there, come and play. Then COVID hit, and, we haven't traveled much. So I'm going to see it at some point. But from afar, I love everything about it. And you've played golf all over the world and played, the best courses and the munis and all of it. So you get a good perspective of this, but what do you think golf courses in general could kind of learn from what John and that group has done at Goat Hill to kind of bring to their own golf courses? It might never capture that Southern California exact vibe, but is there a couple, 1 or 2, 3 things that you see that's why that's working there? And if other courses thought that way, golf might be, in a definitely place to grow for the future, and maybe, golf's booming per se right now, but even be more healthy for the next 10, 15, 20 years.
It's just less rule. It's just less restrictions, less rules. And I don't mean it means you play sixums and you play in 6 hours and it's a dumpster fire out there. There's rules, right? There's kind of respectful rules of baseline rules of the game, but it's like say yes first and no second. You know what I mean? Too many places say no. Well, how about, I don't know, let's check it out. Let's see does it make sense? Yeah, okay. Hey, we got an open golf course. Yeah, you can play 5, just keep up with the group in front of you. Or, yeah, jeans, T-shirts, music, no problem. You know what I'm saying? Like there's just that general, again, going back to acceptance. He also, it's a 4,500 yard golf course, par 65. He created kids tee, called the goat tees for the kids to play forward tees. It's because it's not easy. People rock up and see 4,500 yards, $35, par 65, piece of cake. It's not. It's called, because of the undulation. The par threes are tough shots that there's a lot of risk reward. There's a lot of small greens. They roll them pretty fast. So it's not that it's easy. It's just that the narratives are shorter. With a shorter golf course, the narratives become shorter. So you get less 8s and 9s. You get more 4s and 5s by virtue of just the distance anyway. And then he took a little plot of land off to the side that had no business being anything other than just, it seemed like a junk zone. And he added dirt and created a 3-hole kids course called the Playground that kids can play for free. There's a donation box. He created a sand pit above that, so if the littlest little kids can't do that and parents need to watch the little kids while the other kids go play, there are picnic tables up there. They got music playing. They keep the lights on. They have a fire pit that's always going. As you finish your round, you gravitate towards the fire pit. It becomes more of like a social gathering. They've got disc golf happening simultaneously as big golf. He just redid the whole driving range and made it bigger, better. It's these little things. It's just one piece after the next, and he's not stopping. There's a project going. There's at least 2-3 projects going constantly, tweaking a green, tweaking a tee, adding a tee, flattening this, creating an option over here. I mean, it's just nonstop. And again, he's in the middle of it. So all of that, he's got a great team of people there helping run the golf course, setting up events constantly. The membership doesn't mean, if you're a member at Goodale Park, doesn't mean you then get better tee times than the people who rock up and pay. It just means you get access to some of the events. You get discounts in the pro shop. Because a lot of people like Winter Park 9, they give memberships, and those members act like they got the right of way over paying customers at a $25, $30 municipal. Now you've got the people who are paying $5 to play golf, acting like they're paying $500 to play golf over the people who just came out of town. That's a municipal club. If you want that, go join a country club.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So there's a couple flaws in some of the business models as it relates to municipal golf that Goodale Park doesn't fall into. And that helps a lot. So it's so special. I'm so happy to be so close and be a part of it.
Yeah, it's so cool. And there's a shift, I think, going in golf. I mean, I'm fortunate enough to be a member at a club here locally, and it's been around since 1901. And it's out in the country a little bit, so it's never was stuffy. But there's even if you're like say 45, 50 and under, there's a little generational divide of kind of what the old guard wants and what the younger families want, and people, small kids. It's going to be interesting to see what's the landscape of golf courses, private, public, look like over the next 10 or 15 years. I mean, there's always going to be room for the Chicago golf clubs in the world, and I love those places as well if you're fortunate enough to get to go and play them every now and then. But I kind of like the relaxed vibe hang, and I think you're going to see it change. That's my opinion, at least, a little bit over time, right? And make it a little bit more chill, for lack of a better word, or just a little bit more of a, an easier hang versus, when I joined out there 20 some years ago, it was definitely a little more formal. So I like the way it's sort of hopefully going here a little bit in the game with that regard.
Well, I think it's happened, right? I mean, I think, if you're a golf course, I agree with you, there's going to be X number of well-established private country clubs that are, they're not changing anytime soon. They've got their established.
Nor should
membership.
They, right?
Nor should they. Hey,
right?
More
Absolutely.
power to them. Hey, you got. It's like a Porsche dealer or a high-end a restaurant experience, or you know what I'm saying, like a hotel that charges $2,500 a night. I'm never staying there, but I'm not going to begrudge someone for having that business if they can make it work. Good for them. Go Godspeed. Good, good on you. Not every car needs to be affordable. Not every house needs to be. You know what I'm saying? There's various degrees of where we plug into, and we start one place and go to the next. But what golf was missing was those bunny slopes, enough that feeder system into the double diamonds or the private club experiences. And municipals have always been at the base of all of that. I think we got away with that. So what's happening in that middle zone, so if you're not that successful private club and you're not that really thriving, successful, good vibe muni, and you're now falling into that middle, now you got to look in the mirror and say, and you've had to spend the last 10 years since 2008 taking a good long look in the mirror to say, what are we? Are we private? Do we have the membership to support this? If not, do we go semi-private? If you're semi-private, do you go full public? If you're public, do you go full like muni public, or do you try to go high end? It's all that price point. Whatever you set that price point at, then sets the expectation. And that expectation means everything. If I'm at a $50 golf course, my expectations are a lot different than if I'm at a $100 or $150 golf course. You want to get north of $100, you better be delivering a $500 experience or I'm not coming back. Do you know what I'm saying? I always say this, you've heard this a million times, but the problem with golf is not a $500 green fee. It's a $500 green fee that delivers a $50 experience. Pebble Beach is a $500 green fee that delivers for most people, a priceless experience. That's
Agreed.
why they're booked. That's why they're Pebble.
Correct. It's like walking. I played it I think 3 times, and it's not cheap. But I've never not played it and thought it wasn't worth the experience. And I don't even care if it was a 7-hour round of golf. Like you're just playing golf at a museum. It's
no one goes to Pebble to try to play in 4 hours. It's such bullshit. People say, 5.5 hour experience. Oh my God. You're complaining? Complaining?
Yeah.
Who's got the problem if you're complaining about being on Pebble Beach for 5.5 hours? You got the problem.
I don't want it to end, right? And I play golf fast. I'm like, I'll be out there all day looking at that, right? It's
no
brilliant.
problem. More time for pictures.
Right.
And and the opposite is take Doral, and I use Doral all the time because $500. It's basically the same price to play Pebble. I've been on social media since the beginning. I can count on one hand how many times I see someone play Doral and say, wow, this is awesome, 550. I lost 12 balls. I shot 110, and what a great experience. The airplanes are landing on my head, and I got no coastline. It's amazing.
Right.
Nobody's. But at Pebble, you can't go 10 minutes without seeing someone saying, oh, my dad and I, this is a lifelong dream. We're playing Pebble. Look at this coastline. What a day we had. I made birdie the 8th hole, whatever. Yeah. That's happening all the time.
And it's weird. It's weird to say, is it worth a $500-$600 round of golf? And you can actually go, yeah, it kind of is for that one, right? Like it really is. Like
at least once. And again, that's their business model based on sort of the experience and the service and the satisfaction of what it is to walk off that 18th green and say, I played Pebble Beach today.
Well, but the other cool thing is like what's happening, and I'm sure I don't know how many of them you played, but I'm assuming you played most of them, of what Mr. Meldman's doing with Discovery Land Properties, right? Like, It is high end, but is that not the coolest experience to go hang out there for a day? It's awesome.
And again, that's the ultimate. That's the ultimate, and you just said it. The word experience is what that's about. You know what I mean? And that's funny money and something that I'll never have in my lifetime. But there are people who do, and he's cultivated that culture and that community. Not unlike that's a culture and a community. Yeah, different than Goat Hill Park, but it's the same kind of thing. He's delivering that experience. That's his vision. People who buy into it come with set level expectations, and he over delivers. Good
fun.
For him.
It's just the golf courses are great,
Good
but
for
it was
him.
just
Great.
It's fun, right? Like the food, the doing tequila shots with the cat, like it's just a blast, right? Like how do you not have a smile on your face the entire time you're out there, right? Like
there you go.
It's awesome. I love that vibe.
Yeah.
Well, so we'll get into golf a little bit later, but you're your own boss now. You have started the Fire Pit podcast, which I've listened to. It's great. I also know you have a production company going. So how do you like running the show? What's the good, the bad, and what sort of pathway has the first couple segments, where you say were you about year and a half into at this point? Like, what have you kind of learned, and what should we be looking forward to kind of in the future of where you see this this project that you've started kind of winds up, or which pathway do you see it going on?
Well, yeah, what could go wrong launching a travel-based production company in the face of, a global pandemic? But yeah. I think that at the end of the day, having now, like I said, SI, Golf Digest, Golf Channel, and developing, the sort of the photography, the writing, and the broadcasting, kind of a toolbox of a variety of things, relationships, perspective, and traveled, the way I have for the last 12 to 15 years, specifically, covering sort of the development or evolution of the game. It just felt like the timing was right. We really didn't get the site up until February 1st of this year. I had a non-compete after I left Golf Advisor and Golf Channel at the end of 2019. So all 2020 was really trying to, sort of organize the verticals and a strategy and the partnerships and the team around me. And I feel, very cautiously optimistic. I will say that the freedom, the control over content, the ability to, I feel like when we go out, we're chasing stories for, the common denominator to all verticals of the Fire Pit Collective is storytelling. So what's a great story? Go find a good story, and then what's the best platform to deliver that story? In most cases, it's always going to be multiple platforms, but long form, medium form, long form podcast or written form, medium form digital, short form social, teasing all the way up to, the long form. And really big announcement coming here in the next 2 weeks about adding some content creation to the collective, which is going to be really cool. Can't reveal that secret right now, but it will be coming out in the next 2 weeks, and that's going to be really cool. Sort of this curation of content. I've got the Ambush. We're bringing it back, which I did for Golf Digest, as celebration of the buddies trips. Traditional travel in the form of journeys, we call it. Features on people, places, and things that need extra attention or deserve a deeper dive. I'll have a blog going now on the firepitcollective.com, and then the Fire Pit podcast, which I'm deep into season 2 of the interviews. We're doing 200 to 400 minutes of interviews for a 20 to 40 minute podcast on any variety of subject matters. And it's really just a matter of what interests me, and then hopefully other people find it to be interesting as well. So I think this is what I needed to do. The timing seemed right where I'm at in my life and career, and with the tool set I have, and I'm just, this was something I needed to do regardless, one way or the other. I needed to scratch this itch and prove to myself that I can do it after, getting frustrated with certain sort of aspects of the way the content got put together. I always say, like, for me, the inefficiency of going out and, sort of killing a cow and only eating the fillet just doesn't make any sense. You've got to find ways to make sure that all parts of that cow get used and distributed. And that's the mindset we have going into almost everything we do now.
Is there an episode or an interview you're not really like interviewing people like I'm kind of doing here, but like an episode, is there one or two characters in golf that you haven't been able to get yet, even with all the connections you got, that you're like, I think this would be such an interesting dive, this person, this situation? Is there one or two, and if it's something like closed, don't have to say it, but if it is for public consumption, is there just like, I think this would be the most interesting story or person if I could make it happen?
Boy, I made a list for myself in season 2, and as of right now, I have the guts of everything. Like these next 15 episodes are sort of that. I made that list, right? The thing. Here's what I really want to do. I really want to tell the story of Stream Song, the simultaneous build of Red and Blue with Court Crenshaw and Tom Doak, and going, these two modern architectural firms side by side, divvying up this piece of property that essentially was going to have, 36 greens, so to speak, and who goes where, who goes for, who picks and there's a lot of great stories. I've reported a lot of the stories, but I want to go back and get all the voices. Well, Tom Doak really doesn't talk to me.
Really? I figured, because he does, the Fried Egg podcast, and I think he's very good. I mean, obviously he knows golf course architecture. I thought that one would be in your wheelhouse to have Mr. Doak on there.
Well, I think I've pissed him off over the years on being critical of his greens and sort of his style, both as an architect and a person. So I don't know, I can still tell the story without him, but it's one of those things that it's interesting. It's all good. I don't.
Yeah, it is what it is, right?
I get it. If you're critical of someone, you don't always get it both ways, So, it is what it is.
Well, it's such a great. I mean, that's going to be an interesting story. That's just an interesting project at Stream Song. I've been fortunate enough to go on there and play. It's just fantastic, right? Like, who knew that topography was in Florida? It's just the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, I mean, what they did was a very good use of 16,000 acres of, as they've gone through as a company, Mosaic, a fertilizer company, and extracted all the minerals and stuff out of the land. A byproduct of sort of the phosphate mining is, in theory, it's kind of purified sand because they extract everything and they blow it back out. And they've been doing it for half a century, and so you get these what looks to be really natural dunes when in fact they've kind of blown it around out of the back of a truck, but then also the wind comes and it gets pretty windy out there, so you have they've made great use of that space, created a lot of jobs and industry and travel and two and three, now three, and pretty damn good golf experiences. And obviously the crux of hole to hole and routing and all that stuff's all subjective. But I would say when you got Gill, Tom, and Corin Crenshaw, you're definitely going to have a very high level experience for sure.
Well, you've played a lot of golf courses in your days of doing this. So let's jump into that a little bit. So just like from 5,000 feet. In this might not even be as much of an experience question or that of just golf course architecture. Like, what in your mind makes a really good golf course?
Well, I tend to, Jeff Shackelford and I have gone around and around over the, long years of doing this about, what is a great golf course? What is it? For me, I do tend to evaluate the overall experience. Obviously, architecture has a lot to do with that experience, the fun factor, the playability, the adventure, the variety, all of that. Yes, I get it. That's inherent to architecture. And, but I also do factor in sort of that parking lot to parking lot experience of when you arrive and the vibe and the feel and the service and the conditioning and the halfway house and what I'm saying? Because that is how we consume the game. We don't actually just rock up, go right to the first tee, play 18 holes and leave. You know what I mean? There is all this other ancillary stuff happening around the experience of a golf course. I have no problem with, six hard, six fairly easy, and six somewhere in between, pin placements, tee marker, distance, yardage, all that plays into it. I gravitate to the Corin Crenshaws because of, just their, I call it thoughtful architecture, where it feels like, as Ben and Bill have explained to me, that, that last 60 to 40 yards leading into the green, they try to treat it like the front of a house. Do you want to put a bunch of plants and tricks and games in the walkway getting from, the sidewalk to the front door? No, you create a path, you create a walkway, you allow steps if they have to go. You know what I'm saying? You create an avenue, an entrance into the front door so people can come up and knock and say, hey, I'd like to go visit, hey, we're at their house. Let's go say hello. You know what I mean? So I love that. That those subtleties, the ball bouncing sort of towards the green as opposed to away from it, little nuanced stuff, bunker placement that, it seems like it makes sense. Hey, if you miss a shot, okay, there's a bunker. If you hit a good shot, you're going to have a good result. Something along the lines of fair, reasonable, thoughtful, all that, you start picking up on things over time. I love quirky. I love the adventure. I love Goat Hill Park, 4,500 yards, par 65, very tough, but super fair and fun. You know what I mean? And again, $35. So, again, that price point also sets expectations of what you are going to endure. I'm not into flat, generic, must ride in a golf cart, golf courses that are built on property that probably should have never been an 18-hole golf course experience. You know what I mean? I don't enjoy that. Not many people do. Is if they have options, they'll go somewhere else. And right now we have such a buyer's market. We have so many good experiences at our fingertips, at our disposal. And I think that's why we have this transformation and evolution of the game now, where the good ones, are setting the stage. What destination, top popular destination, doesn't have good golf and also a good short course experience? Bandon did the Preserve and the Punch Bowl, and Pinehurst, sort of had the putting course that they moved now closer to the clubhouse and added the Cradle, reimagined their property. So Straits is now adding a short course. Forest Dunes just added a short course. I think Streamsong's going to look to sort of figure out a way to have a more traditional short course experience to go with the other three big golf courses. This is where Pebble has now reimagined their short course to make it more of a significant experience. And the list just goes on. And that, again, we win. We, the consumer, benefit from all of that.
I think, too, there's been a good move away from, my golf course is super hard. How hard is your golf course? Like some of the architecture in the late 80s, it's just, I watched that today at Concession, man. Like, I wouldn't want to play, and I'm a good player, and I wouldn't want to play that every day. I mean,
no.
There's just, you're talking the best players in the world are making 7 and 8s, and it can happen in a millisecond. Can you imagine the average 15 handicap playing that course, even from 6,200 yards, of the shit show that would look like?
No, I have no. I'm at a point in my life. I just have no interest. Kiowa, Doral, Concession. Like, we remember, we pay to play. We pay to play that, and to feel horrible about yourself, or to feel guilty about the 5 hours you just took to go do it, or to feel guilty about the money you're spending. It doesn't work. It does not work. Sawgrass is tough like that. I'd rather pay $450 to play 16 through 18 6 times than pay to play all the other holes. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just starts getting down to, like, it's not, I'm here to have fun. This is a game. I've taken time out of my life. I've taken money out of my account. If I'm not walking off being like focusing more on the camaraderie and the people I'm with and the fun factor that I had and the near misses or the great experience, good service, then I'm out. I'm moving on.
Yeah, this, making your golf course, what they did at Cog Hill, when they tried to get the U.S. Open on there, and basically, there ain't going to be a tour event out there again. Like, that ain't happening. Like, that course is hard for the average player. Then they didn't get the U.S. Open, and now it's like, well, does even an 8 handicap really want to go out there and play that thing? I mean, all the greens are pushed 9, feet up in the air and deep bunkers, and I mean, it's a shit show. And I love the fact that it's kind of going with some width off the fairway. Like, and I'm a huge fan of Court Crenshaw design. My favorite golf course in the world, Sandhills out in Mullen. I think it changed the way I thought about golf course architecture when I played it, 15 years ago. I thought it was just incredible. And the variety and let the land kind of naturally, make the whole sort of work without tricking it up. And I like having a little bit of width off the tee, right? It's just fun. It's fun to have it. So I love how we're kind of taking the new best golf courses are a little bit of that golden age architecture, and they're not, they're not going to over punish the golfer and make that experience fun again versus let's make basically a replica of a 1983 U.S. Open and call it our country club, and everyone's hacking. It's just, I'm glad we're getting away from that a little bit, at least in my opinion. It seems like we are.
Oh, yeah. There's no doubt about it. I mean, again, same thing that we said about private courses. Hey, there's always going to be X number of that are out there that have that kind of business model. Well, there's always going to be an X number of places like Kiowa, like Doral Blue, like Sawgrass, like, Bethpage Blackworks. So even Pinehurst number 2, by the way, that is a ball breaker, but they have all the diversity in their portfolio to say, okay,
exactly. You do that once.
You do that one, and you play all the other one. 3, 5, Cradle. You go 4, you go Mid Pines, Pine Needles while you're in the area. Like you augment that experience. Like if Bethpage was only Bethpage Black and they charged $500, would it be Bethpage Black? No, it'd probably be gone because it's a kick in the nuts. But they've got the red, the green,
right.
the blue, the yellow. They have the price point set at $65 and $75 for New York State residents. It makes sense. So you go play red or blue a couple times, and hey, once every 3 or 4 months, you and your buddies might, let's play black. Okay, let's give it a go. You know what I mean? That's the way it works. And so, you know, I think, you know, to your point, it's definitely how many, you know, most architects right now aren't busy building new courses. They're busy reimagining failed golf courses or golf courses that were too hard, need better pace of play, more playability, more fun factor, more of that experience we talked about earlier.
Is there a couple, 2 or 3 places that you still want to visit to go play that's on the list that maybe with COVID or everything happened you haven't seen yet that you're like, I can't wait to get out there from what I've heard?
Well, I'm going to go see Congaree and Ohoopee in April, the week after the Masters, which, you know, Ohoopee, the match play course with a different kind of strategy Gil Hanse built that, you know, I'm really looking forward to. And Congaree has, you know, I've only, you know, heard about it and seen pictures. I haven't gotten to Sweetens Cove yet. I feel like that I've seen, read, and heard so much about it, almost like I could take you hole by hole. But I do need to see that for myself and understand, you know, King Collins, you know, a little better. Certainly love their attitude and energy around the game, but I need to see that here in the near future. I love Sand Valley. You know, I look forward to getting back to that. I need to get back to Big Cedar Lodge to see Paynes Valley and see how they're kind of connecting those dots as they built so much golf so fast. It's like now how is it all coming together and functioning as one destination? I look forward to seeing that.
Did you ever make it out to play Links of Lasonia in southern Wisconsin yet?
I did. Last time I was at Kohler, I took my son and we drove out there and we got in a cart, just the two of him. He was 2.5. I changed the diaper on like the 16th fairway. It was so cute. And I mean, it was everything, you know, that I thought it might be based on what I had seen and heard. It was just this ultimate romp, you know, around this beautiful piece of land. And great, talk about attitude, energy, vibe, you know, checking all the boxes, and the affordability and yes, I mean, I can't say everybody was right, so to speak. You know what I mean? Yeah. A lot of places, I feel like I go there first and try to report about, you know, at first, but, you know, early on as places are being developed. But that was one that I had heard a lot about and thought I need to get there. I went there and it exceeded expectations.
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's just so cool. You know, and that's really kind of gone up the rankings, you know, kind of in our area here of like, you know, where is that at sort of in the last 10 years? I mean, there's more and more buzz about this little Links golf course, you know, in southern Wisconsin, how good it is. But it is fantastic golf course. But exactly what you said, though, there's some holes you can get, but it doesn't kick your teeth in. But yet when that wind comes up, that golf course can play tough. It can ask, you know, it can ask a lot of your game. It's a perfect balance. Such a great place.
Yeah.
You know, and I can't wait to see what King Collins is going to be doing out in Homer, Nebraska, too. That property looks fantastic for what they're doing. So those guys are on a run. I love what they're doing as well, right? Like to me, it's like those guys get it. Those guys get it.
Oh yeah, and you know, I think they get it. You know, they always got it, and now they're getting the opportunities to continue to show they get it. You know what I mean? And that's what needed to happen. Is just they need opportunities. You know, when you get guys who have worked for good architect, taken bits and pieces of their, you know, sort of their experience in life and rolled it into their own thing. You know, that's not unlike what I'm trying to do with my own thing or what you try to do with your own thing. That's the way this works. We evolve as people and professionals, and then we get chances and opportunities, and then it's up to us.
I got a couple more quick hitters, and we'll get you back to helping out with the kids here. But I saw Bubba was out at Goat Hill, and first off, did you get to play with him? And if you did, what does that look like from, you know, a par 65 golf course? Like, is it just? It's got to be insane good of the golf shots he's creating on that little golf course, and and playing Bubba golf out there.
He did. He is now a Link Soul ambassador, and he bought into John Ashworth and Jeff Cunningham and their mindset and philosophy as it relates to their brand. And he invested in their company, and he's out here a couple of days. And like I said, our offices now for the Fire Pit Collective are right above the Link Soul offices in Oceanside. And we sort of hung out, had lunch, and then John and I went up and we went to Goat Hill with him. And John and I, scrambled against Bubba for 6 holes as kind of his introduction to Goat Hill Park. And to watch him play it is like watching someone play Golden Tee, the way he shapes shots and flights things down or takes them up and over the eucalyptus trees and tries to drive the greens, or his short game off the rock outcroppings and the different the different imperfections around the periphery of the greens. Watching Bubba navigate those as a guy who grew up on that type of golf experience, he looked and felt right at home. He could not have been nicer, couldn't have been more engaged in the community aspect of it all, had nothing but questions and thoughts on how he would like to sort of continue to advance the ball there. He came back with a couple friends, and you'll see here in the near future, we videoed him playing the complete golf course twice now as he tries to break the course record, which is 9 under in 18 holes. So we've banked some content that we'll be putting out here in the near future of Bubba versus the GOAT as he tries to break the course record. And so you'll see the shot tracers and the angles of attack and the plotting of where he goes and how he goes there and some of the strategic, elements. Again, here's a guy who, one of the longer guys on tour, 2-time Masters champ. And I can promise you, when you see this, distance is a factor in the sense that it's almost like not long enough for him. You know what I mean? It's
right. That's say be kind of handcuffed on some holes, right?
It's counterintuitive and all that. So I think shorter is better. Riviera, Harbor Town, all these different places that force you to hit your marks, make your turns, have small greens, use a short game, work the ball right, left, like that. That's where we need to go with this. I despise the idea of rolling back the ball, certainly for amateurs, as we all try to keep distance, maintain our path to sort of a better game. I don't need that slap in the face of sort of hitting it short.
That one made no sense because you even looked at the report. Besides the 1/10 of 1/4 of 1%, all of us relatively else are hitting the ball the same distance. There's not a huge gain for even like 5 handicaps. It's not like they're hitting it 30 yards further. So now my argument is always our tips at Kishwaukee Country Club at home here are 6,400 yards. It's rare for the best players to even break par out there.
Look at Bandit. Look at all the courses at Bandit. We play them for our annual buddies trip at 62, 6,300 yards, and you get the elements. And you get it. It's still we go out there with +2s, +4s. They all shoot above par. It's like, give me a break. I mean, it's not. Yeah,
they can't change the rule for literally Bubba talent, right? Because it's. I don't know. You're going to have an outcry if people go back. If the average guy with 95-mile-an-hour club head speed, which is actually more than average, is hitting at 230, and you have him hit it 208, people are going to be pissed.
Well,
They're just going to say, screw the rules. Just give me the goddamn ball that was before. I don't care.
Everybody has spent so much money getting fit, getting their equipment, getting the upgrades. All these different course owners and operators have spent so much money updating their golf courses, putting the bunkers where they need to be, getting everything all set. And now we're going to go backwards?
Yeah, if they do it, they just got to do it like Major League Baseball or the NFL with the football is different than the NFL than it is for college, right?
Just create rules for that if they're that concerned. And then I don't see the tour going with it. I don't see the tour saying, yeah, okay, well, we sell X amount of tickets to watch people hit 320, 330 yard drives. Maybe we'll agree to trying to sell more tickets to watch guys hit 285 yard drives. It's not going to happen.
Or they're just going to make their own local rules, or however they want to do it. They say we're just going to make our own rules, and it's for the PGA Tour. Then the U.S. I agree because I mean, like I said, I don't want to. I can see 275 at my club. If I'm going out to the John Deere Classic, I want to see someone hit a shot that I can't even dream of even seeing at my own club hit, let alone myself, right? I want to be awed.
It's crazy, and we got these different venues with different characters and different attributes and different demands, just like the baseball venues as they change. I don't see. Oh, look at all. Steph Curry starts hitting a bunch of threes. It doesn't mean they make the rim smaller or the ball bigger or they raise the rim higher. It's just we celebrate his expertise and what he put into the game to try to be great at what he does. It's the golf is the only sport. I hate this sort of cloud and this discourse of negativity when we're watching a major championship and Bryson DeChambeau has put in time and energy and commitment and resources into trying to be better, not only just hit the ball farther, but his putting stats, his short game stats, what he did that week at the U.S. Open, instead of just being like, wow, this is amazing. It was like, oh, my God, the golf.
The world's coming to an end, right?
The world's coming to an end.
Yeah.
When a guy goes out, and it's not like DJ, Rahm, Rory, list all the long, Bubba for that matter, all the longest guys. They're not winning every week. It drives me crazy. When's the last time Rory won? When's the last? Tony Finau can be one of the longest players on tour at any given second. When's the last time he won? What are we doing?
Yeah, Brian Gay has won since Rory, and Rory hits it 50 past him.
I know.
Right? His old man, Brian Gay, I love when he won. It's like, he's my man. He's out there poking it, I still 290, but he's playing old man golf and making 12-footers all day and working his way around a golf course. He's got the W.
Distance is only one aspect of the game. You can't win by hitting 350-yard drives. It's not happening.
If you looked at Bryson's short game stats for the week at the U.S. Open, it was off the charts. That's how he won.
Of course it was.
That's why he won.
Of course.
Right? The drive helped set that up, but he made a bunch of putts, and he's so improved that aspect of his game that's actually a bigger difference than the drive.
And instead of celebrating it, it was like the game is dead. We lost it. It's over.
I'm on the manufacturing side, and I mean it would be bad. I mean I don't know how it would play out. So then we have to is our new driver now having to bring back, and then are we going to sell any, or are people just going to say screw it? Just give me the old stats. I don't care anymore. And does the USJ become less relevant if people just say, whatever, right? I'm just going to go by
Mike Davis is giving poor Mike Juan a big old shit sandwich as they transition into the new era. But I think Juan is capable of being incredibly reasonable and thoughtful, and we'll see where it goes. But at the end of the day, and this is what we always said at Golf Digest. Our favorite golfer is ourselves, right? The golfer that matters the most is the one that we look at in the mirror. That's the one that we're trying. That's why I go to the range. That's what and as long as they don't mess with me, I really don't care what happens to the pro level. It's go do whatever you guys are going to do to that point, 2% or whatever. Have at it. But just do it. Whatever you're going to do it. Move on. Stop the discourse going in the wrong direction. I don't need to hear it.
Before we get this deep into it, I still think they made a huge mistake by banning the belly putter.
Well, that's just another thing.
Jesus,
it's
some old dude who's got a yip from 8 feet. Just let him lock it in and have a shot at it, right? It's not
crazy,
right?
Jason, this idea, we talk about this love and this evolution and the transformation, the progression that we make, growing the game, and now more kids, more women. We've got this unbelievable, silver lining to a global pandemic, in that golf has been revitalized and people are realizing, oh, you know what? I can get out, have some time with family, get off the cell phones, get out of the house, have a safe, experience and a walk on green space. Oh, this is amazing. And then, and then you got the governing bodies being like, no, hey, I'm going to take away.
You can't lock it in. Don't lock it in from 8 feet and have a shot.
I'm going to roll back the ball. It's like the governing bodies are working against the growth of the game. It's craziness. What is happening? Drives me crazy.
Some of the guys in our group, they still use belly putters. I mean, right? They're like, I don't care. I don't care. We let it just look, I can't putt without it. You know, one of my good friends is a doctor. He's busy. He's just putting he's just using the damn thing. He's never stopped. He's like, I really don't care, right? I'm just putting.
No, it's like, hey, wait, let's go to the basketball court and see. Hey, everybody's making shots from 10 feet. Okay, here's a new rule. You can only use one hand. You can only use one hand because I don't like the fact that the ball keeps going in the net. That is the game, right? The game is to actually go have fun and have some success and feel good about yourself. You did pay to play, and we're going to come in there and try to make it harder for you?
Yes, and also I would say on the PGA Tour, the stats never backed up that the best putters in the world were just, drilling. Keegan Bradley was just drilling people because he had it locked in, right? Like he's just so far statistically ahead since he adapted this that it's now he's a statistical anomaly along with Adam Scott. So Brad Faxon is now rendered useless. I never found how the facts made any sense in their argument. It made them adequate putters. They were never great with the locked-in method.
Again, putting isn't the only thing. Just like distance is the only thing, putting isn't the only thing. Distance isn't only relating to the ball. You do have course conditioning. You do have setup. You do have speed of greens and speed of fairways. You do have physical factors. People dedicating more time and energy to physical fitness. It's just too much. It's not as clean and simple as people want to make it out to be.
Well, my last one, we have to get to this guy before we end. The man, the myth, the legend, Dean Wilson. I mean, how good does that golf swing still look? And I could just put a loop in on video and just for rhythm, just sit there and watch that. I
do that. I do that. I mean, Dean, I've spent the last 15, 20 years swiping across it, not getting maximum distance out of my irons, really tied. My results really tied to tempo, that if I didn't take it back and if I had at all sped up that transition, which I do anyway, which sort of led to that cut across and the spin on my ball, I've been a 8, 9, 10, sometimes down to a 7 handicap, depending on how much I'm playing. And it was in August when I said to Dean, I said, hey, you mind taking a look? What are your thoughts? And I mean, he broke me like a horse. I mean, 3 hours on the driving range, and he simplifies, took me back to the whole sort of roots of the swing and said, here's what he started me all over. And now he's got me going in I've fallen back in love with the game. I'm going to the range 3-4 times a week, having good result. Won my buddy's trip, won a skin the other day, made a hole in one, things are happening in the right way. And I have Dean Wilson to thank for that. He, like John Ashworth, is just a cool spirit, thoughtful, walks the walk, is just a committed guy who loves the game as much as you and I do, and really understands the game, not only the swing, but also the short game, the putting. I mean, he's one of the best putters I've ever seen. The stats all back that up. And he's a real presence out at Goat Hill Park, plays in the match play, brings out his dog, brings out his son, always on the ring. He's just he's a big part of this community. I'm in the match play tournament here at Goat Hill Park. That again, par 65. 22 of the 64 contestants are scratch or better, and he's one of them.
That's good. Yeah. That's good playing out there. Yeah.
No.
Is he going to chase it on the Champions Tour, or does he not want to deal with it and go do that? He's got to be getting close, right? He's got to be close.
You'd have to ask him. I have asked him. I think he's pretty happy with the life he's leading right now. I mean, I think he made good money, good investments. He's got a great lifestyle. He's very, I call her his wife. He lives with a woman, Leanne, who's they're not technically married, but they might as well be. And she's amazing and very successful. So he's pretty set. My goal is to live the life of Dean Wilson. That would be good.
He's got the reputation. He is the man, isn't he?
He's the man.
Gosh,
he's the man.
When someone still that golf swing to me looks as good as it did when he was on tour. It's just effortless, man. It's just so pretty. It's just elegant. That's it. It's got an elegant golf swing, right? It's just
elegant, classy, elegant. Yeah, and consistent.
It's all good. Well, thank you so much for doing this, Matt. I really enjoyed it. I love what you're doing, like I said, with your new projects. We'll look forward to this stuff next year. And if people want to, listen, find it, all that good stuff, where's the best spots for them to listen to what you're doing and the projects that you have coming up?
Everything's on the firepitcollective.com, socially, Twitter, Matt Ginella, and Instagram at Matt_Ginella. We just launched the Instagram page of the Fire Pit Collective. And again, lots of podcasts, the Fire Pit podcast with Matt Ginella coming for season 2 will start dropping here in a couple of weeks. And then big announcement here in the next 2 weeks of some additions to the content creation that we're very excited about. So more to come. I appreciate you doing this. I appreciate you, the interest and the thoughtful conversation.
No worries. Thanks for doing it as well. I enjoyed it, my man. Thank you so much.
Okay, talk soon.